I'm Don Reed with Saltwater Flytyers. I'm going to show you how to tie a fly today that's particularly effective for fishing redfish in our local area, northeast Florida. This fly actually works all the way down into the Mosquito Lagoon, south into the Indian River system. So it's a very versatile fly, and it'll work in a lot of different places. I call it the ugly fly because it started off as just we were sitting around one day and just picked up a couple of pieces of material off of the bench and started tying this thing. We all agreed that it was the ugliest fly we'd ever seen. Well, one of us went out and fished it, and it turned out to be one of the most effective flies that we've tied in a long time. So it can't always be the prettiest fly that works. All right, today we're going to use B10S number 2 hook. You can use a number 4. It works very well as 2. But in this particular case, I like a little bit larger fly, so the number 2 is going to be what we use today. All right, set it into the vise, get a good bite on it. Wrap it with, I'm using black thread. I tend to use mostly flat A wax, nylon, Danville material. It's the most useful thread I've ever used, so I use it a lot. I like wrapping the entire hook shank so that you have a little more tooth for the materials to have something to attach to. All right, I'm going to come back up, set the eye of the hook in. We're going to use a small presentation eye, lead, it's a dumbbell eye, it's plated black, great eyes, very universal. 6 around, 6 the other way, and then underneath, wrap it nice and tight. All right, so that should give us a good snug hook eye on the fly. I'm going to put a little bit of cement in there. I use a lot of Dave's Flex Cement. I just don't like things coming apart, so I do use a lot more cement than a lot of people. But at any rate, Dave's Flex Cement. Wrap back to a point just behind the point of the hook, okay? And we're going to use, this fly started off, like I say, as the ugly fly. Started off using orange. This is fox tail. This is close to the butt of the fox. So it's very short, stiff type fur. And it has this particular material has a great color to it. And we usually keep this in inventory. It's a real bright, hot orange. Cut off more than I need, so I'm just going to take a little bit of it here. You only need a small amount here, just enough to get the fish's attention for a tail. So this much, and that's probably a little heavy, but at any rate, set it in, wrap it in real good and tight. All right, wrap back over it. Here again, this is a real quick fly to tie. It's really easy. You're going fishing the next day, you can tie a half dozen of these in about 30-40 minutes without any trouble. All right, now we've got the tail tied in real well here. I want to put a little cement on that just to reinforce that. All right, like I say, I may use a little more cement than other people, but these things don't come apart on you. All right, I'm going to go right back to the point over the hook point to tie in the next material. Next material is Estes Grande orange. I'm going to put in 3 or 4 wraps of this, and that'll pretty much be the body of the fly. We really want something that'll make a little noise in the water, this builds up real nice, and it gives us a really good sound signature in the water. But we're going to use this orange Estes Grande. So you just tie a little tag of it in. Be sure you get it snug up to the back of the tail, and then go ahead and get your thread up to a point right behind the eyes. All right, so around we go. We're going to pull this back and wrap it kind of tight so that we have a real good dense fly. Maybe 4 or 5 wraps. All right, and that's enough. All right, a couple of wraps to hold it. Take a pair of scissors that you would use to trim plastics. Plastic tends to really dull scissors quickly. And then a couple of extra wraps just to be sure that we've got everything nailed down good and tight. That cement is still sort of wet in there, so it's taking the place of adding more cement. We don't really want to put more in right now. All right, so the next thing that we're going to add is, you can add legs if you want to this thing. We'll add a couple of these pumpkin and orange, or pumpkin, it's pumpkin and orange. But at any rate, we're going to put these legs in at this point. And to do that, we just wrap and match them. Bring it up to the top, tie it in front of where you really want it to be, because you want to be able to position these things, and then tie it down to that. All right, so now those legs are all in place and ready to go. All right, we're going to use some Enrico Puglisi. This is Enrico Puglisi Streamer Brush Black. This always comes with a little extra tag on it here, so I'm going to trim that off and get it out of the way. All right, that goes right in behind where the legs are tied in, right over the top of it. All right, wrap it in real good and tight. Go across your eyes to the place where you're going to finish the fly, which is up in front of the eyes on the of the fly. This material, you'll want to use a brush. We use this great little Everybody Needs One brush. It's like a little dog brush. Works really well for anything that you're going to palmer, whether it's feathers, fur, synthetic materials, whatever. You just hit it a couple of times as you go around. It keeps everything lined up where it's supposed to be, and you keep pulling it back and hit it with a brush, and it will lay right down for you. All right, around. Now, I like this kind of dense, so I'm going to put several wraps right on top here. One right in front of the other, real tight. All right. Keep brushing it out so that everything looks good. Don't overwrap this stuff. All right. So now we've got to cross the eyes, which is the more difficult part, but really not that bad. Just go over the eyes one way. All right, and then make you a little place for them to come back through. Don't want to get these legs all tangled up in this. Over the top again. Combing it back. We're going to hide all that with a couple of wraps in front of the eyes. So, all right, one wrap in front. Two wraps. And one more. All right, that should do it. 1, 2 to hold it. Come in with your, I use these little cutters that I picked up at a hobby shop. They're railroad, HO railroad track cutters They're very sharp, very inexpensive, and do a really good job using it on this stainless steel wire. So trim that off, get it out of the way. All right, you want to be sure that there's no tag in there that's going to cut your thread. So using a pair of needle nose, I like a good pair of Jeweler's needle nose pliers. I round it off so that's out of the way. I still feel a little barb in there. Be careful, this stuff will cut you, so when you're finishing it off, just be sure that you don't get your finger caught in there and get cut. All right, so we're going to wrap this head nice and neat. Brush it out real good. And while we probably don't need a weed guard, we are going to use one on this. It's easier to cut one off when you're fishing than it is to add one. So rather than wish you had done that, we're going to go ahead and do it and take care of the problem right now. Like I say, if you find that it's in your way when you're fishing, then you can always just snip it off right quick with your pliers on your belt. So I'm using Mason Hard. This is my preferred material, and I think most people's preferred material for weed guards. We're going to use 16-pound test, considering I can find the end. Let's see, where is the end? I feel it, but I can't see it. Trim a little piece off. I like to straighten this stuff before I use it. You can just pull it and straighten it, or you can take a pair of pliers, get a good bite on it, and straighten it, pull it till just before it breaks. All right, and let go. And it's nice and straight. Trim the tag end off of it. Fold it over, make a double. Basically, you have a little extra. I don't know if you can see that or not. It's kind of hard to see on video, I'm sure, but you'll see it when we're finished. So cut those two off even. Pinch that A-arm down good and tight so that you got nice A out of it, your legs. All right, come around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 over the top. Then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 behind it. Then come up, turn it over, separate the legs, wrap 1, 2 times around that, pulls it down. 1, 2 around that, 1, 2 around that, 1, 2. Okay, so that keeps the legs spread apart. Then you want to go ahead and finish up your head. I use my fingers usually for a whip finish. You can use a whip finisher, which is either way you prefer to go. Cut that off. All right, take a good look, be sure everything's symmetrical. I've started using a lot of this clear Cure Goo cement. It works really well for setting, especially things in place that you need to have them set instantly. Works really well for that. It's very, very thin. The Hydro is the best for that. It's very thin. Has a consistency almost of water. So I go ahead and put a good soaking on the head. And then right between the eyes, put a little extra. All right, get that out. All right, using the UV light. So you get everything exactly where you want it, and then hit it with a light. 2 seconds and it's done. Everything's right where you want it. All right, so that's finished. You'll want to trim these legs off so that they're more even with the fly, or with the hook point rather. So just trim those off. You can trim them as short as you like or as long as you like. I like brushing it out afterwards. Make sure everything's where it's supposed to be. Watch that hook point, you don't want to get stuck. And so, pretty much, here we have the ugly fly.